I'm Sean from Offload, Rugby Media.
This is Simeon, also known as the TikTok ref.
Hi guys, I'm Murray, also known as Blissful Rugby HQ.
It's Kyle, also known as Rugby Kyle.
And welcome to Season 2
of the Rugby
Connection
podcast.
Hope you're ready for it.
For the fans.
By the fans. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Season 2 of the Rugby Connection podcast. We have a special guest host once again, and you'll have to wait a couple of minutes to find out who it is. Well, you already know, but first of all, Murray, how are you keeping?
I'm alright. Been at the rugby again this weekend. It's been at the Edinburgh game, but we'll talk about that when we get around there. Still injured, sadly, but hopefully we're getting better. We'll see. It's very touching going around, playing it year by year. But yeah, been busy, doing stuff for the show, enjoying the rugby and chatting up with you a lot. Sean, how are you?
Yeah, no, I'm all good. Yeah, obviously missed the episode last week. It was in the sports ground on Saturday, which was nice. Hadn't been there in a couple of years, but other than that, been a fairly quiet week. And now on to the reason why I'm sure everyone clicked onto this episode, and you definitely already know who it is. Mr. Kyle Barrett, how are you? Welcome back onto the podcast.
How are we getting on, lads?
Manu, all good. How are you?
Pretty good. Same as Murray, kind of still injured at the minute. I've been injured for a couple of weeks, so missed the game last weekend. And it's kind of touch and go at the moment, so hoping to get back training fully this week, but we'll see how it goes. And I was at the Connacht game yesterday, which we'll go down that rabbit hole later, I think.
Well, do you want to tell us a bit how the atmosphere was and how the day was yesterday anyway, aside from the results?
Yeah, we won't talk about how the evening went, but the atmosphere was brilliant. Great to be back in Thomson because I've been there a lot over the years, and my grandparents are from Munster as well, so it's nice kind of to be back there. Atmosphere is class. I think there's 17,000 there, so there's still a lot of people. There's a pretty good few Connacht fans, but not as much as I was hoping to see. But it was great to be back and everyone kind of singing, and the Fields of Athenry, I'm not sure who was singing that, but apparently you could hear Connacht chants down the road even, so it's pretty good to see anyways, and it's great to have big crowds back.
Yeah, I mean obviously Thomson Park is one of the more magical rugby venues on match day. Murray, you mentioned it there, you were also at the Edinburgh game. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. Weather was not great. It's coming up to the autumn time. It's going to rain in Edinburgh, but it was a nitty-gritty win, but we'll get into that when we get round to the URC. But I enjoyed it. Had quite a lot to drink. I'm stepping in Simeon's shoes for that one this week, but yeah, had a lot to drink. Went with our good friend of the show, Howdy. So yeah, great chat, great lad, and yeah, hopefully do it again very soon.
Oh, nice. Good to hear that you both had good times. Well, I don't know if you can say that, Kyle, but anyway.
No, it was still brilliant. What a game.
Yeah. Anyway, as you said, we'll go down that rabbit hole later on. Getting cracking on with some rugby then. Obviously the Premiership back in, well, obviously it's always in full flow. I don't know why we're saying back, but Murray, do you want to kick us off with that? Sale against Quins in the first game of this weekend?
Yeah, Sale against Quins. Again, like we've mentioned the past few weeks, very topsy-turvy season. Quins going into undefeated Sale, bit rocky. Sale get the win. 28-22. Ralphie Quirk gets a double. I mean, Danny Kerr, Tyrone Green and Northmore were all on the scoreboard for Quins. It just wasn't enough. It just felt like everything Quins had to throw at Sharks had an answer for, which is actually really good to see, especially in the more neutral perspective of it. 76th minute, Tom Curtis, 20 years old, for Sale Sharks, confirms the win. And yeah, big win, completely turns the table wide open now. And yeah, what a surprise to round 5.
Ralphie Quirk has to get a call-up as well after that performance. Man of the match, and he's been going well lately, hasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to fill in for Faf de Klerk is a big feat on its own, but to then own that role, and now it looks like Faf, I'm not going to say struggle because it's still Faf de Klerk, but he's not guaranteed that start. Yeah, he's not guaranteed that start every week, so yeah, it's good. And you know what? An early defeat in the season for the champions, they'll bounce back from it. They were a very underdog team last year. Harlequins were doing nothing until January last year, and then they ended up winning it. So done right the season off, but yeah, big shock to start off the round.
Yeah. Next one was Newcastle against Bristol Bears. I think that was a bit of a surprise result if you consider last season's form.
If you're doing last season's form, yeah, big shock. If you're looking at it this year, absolutely not. We discussed it last week when we had Harvey on. They had that big lead against Quins last week and bottled it. 45 unanswered points last week against Quins. And from what I've seen of the game, they weren't in control at all. Like, they had nothing, which was a shame because Bristol Bears, again, from like a neutral perspective, they do play some very nice rugby when it's in their play and then their control. But yeah, just didn't work for them. Fair play to Newcastle. Callum Schick, yet again, scoring, and Brett Conan kicking off the tee, seals the win. 13-5, a lot tighter, but Newcastle get the win, and it's just not looking great for the Bears at the moment.
Kyle, I know you're a Bristol Bears fan. What did you make of that game?
I couldn't even watch the full game, to be honest. It's misery at this stage. They're really missing some key players like Semi, who's injured, and Ben Earl, Max Maylands, and Siali Piatow now that have left. But I think even they're so used to playing good attack and rugby and scoring some tries, and they're just making some key errors that are just messing it all up for them, really. I don't know what's going on, but they really need to sort it out because this is a terrible start to the season, and I don't really see them turning it around exactly.
Kyle, I'll turn to you with this one. What do you think that Bristol need to do to turn it around? And Murray, obviously, I'll ask you that as well after, but Kyle, what do you think?
I'm not sure exactly. I'm not going to say, I don't think there needs to be much done coaching yet. I know some people are probably calling for a bit of changes, but if you look at what some of the players and the coaching staff have done the last few years, it's really good. I don't think you can throw them out exactly yet. I think a few things need to be done. I think maybe they need to get in a few more players because they're missing some of them kind of key players from last season. And they probably need to work on, I think there's a big thing with mindset. And I think at 10, they're probably missing a bit of depth. I don't think Callum Sheedy's been playing great lately, and that's really affected them. So I think they need to maybe look at having another pretty good 10.
Okay. Murray, putting that one on you. And then also I'm going to follow-up question for you is, how did Adam Radwan, your boy, who you've been preaching about since we started this podcast, how did he play in that game?
First of all, Adam Radwan had quite a quiet game. Only Callum Schick got the only try for the Falcons. But, I mean, player of the month for the month of September, he's unreal. Like, I put a video up and, like, you just watch him run. You're not catching him. He's phenomenal. He's absolutely fantastic. Probably one of my favourite players from a club like I don't really follow. I'm not a Newcastle fan. Everyone knows I'm a big Exeter fan. So I'd like to see him maybe move to, like, maybe even like Sale Sharks or like maybe even Quins next year. I think that'd be quite a good move for him personally. But yeah, he got player of the month. Didn't score, but doesn't matter. Falcons got the win. For the Bears, their issue with the Bears, I think we covered it last week, and I don't think it is a coaching staff. Like Kyle said, Pat Lamb's a fantastic coach. John Muldoon, obviously captain of Connacht when Pat Lamb was coach, so they know each other so well. It's definitely not the coaching staff. I think it's player mentality. You've seen it last week against Quins. Quins got their second try of the game, so Bristol at the point were still winning, and heads started to drop. I'm like, you're winning the game. Chin up, like, don't let them score again, sort of thing. And there's no one across that Bristol team that stands up and like has that word of encouragement, like, right, focus up, boys, we've got this. And like Kyle said, Callum Sheedy hasn't been playing his best rugby. Ewan Lloyd has been struggling as well. Semi Randrandra's obviously out till at least New Year. That is a big miss for them. But there's just no one grabbing it by the neck and trying to carry this team through. And it sucks to see because they were table toppers last year, semi-finalists, and all I'm saying is it's a good job that there's no relegation this season. It's not looking great.
Yeah, I think you both touched on it there, that a lot of people are calling for Pat Lam to get axed, but Murray, you said it there, and you said it last week, that player mentality is key there in the Bristol squad. And then moving on, Murray, I'll leave this one with you as well. Obviously, you're a big Exeter fan, as you just said. Exeter continued their 3-game winning streak, 27-23.
Close game, but we got the win, got the comeback in the second half. Jimmy Gopperth for Wasps, you know what he does. He doesn't go for the corner, he points for the sticks because it works so well. And for the most part of the game, it was working. He just kept that scoreboard ticking over. But Exeter got the win on the road. Henry Slade, Captain Henry Slade, as I should say. I think he's now captain for the season for the most part. And he's been phenomenal. Like, since he got that captain's armband, he's been on a whole different level. Facundo Cordero, again, he scored 2 tries last week against Worcester. Scored this week, again, against the Wasps. Johnny Hill getting on the scoreboard. And it's that man again, it's Sam Simmons. 3 tries in 2 games now since coming back from Lions duty. And I think now that Chiefs now have like a full squad and they've got a lot of great youth that have had the regular game time before like the bigger players came back. You've got that nice mix and it feels like a proper Exeter Chiefs team again.
Yep, Kyle on Exeter there.
I didn't see too much of it, to be honest with you, but as Murray said, Sam Simmons again. What a guy. I was looking at my England team the other day. I think, do I have Sam Simmons starting in it? And then after that extra game again, after Sam Simmons, what a performance. You have to have him in. It's a no-brainer, really. And him and Dombrandt are really going to be fighting for that 8 jersey. Billy Bonapolo will probably still get it, but the two of them are on great form. But yeah, as he said, good performance. And Henry Slade, what a guy. He took a few kicks as well, as far as I know.
Yeah, he's been kicking. Since he's been captain, he's been on kicking duty as well. Because it's always, I think he's had a knock, but Joe Simmons is usually coming off the bench at the moment. So you've got Harvey Skinner at 10. Harvey Skinner's a fantastic 10. I mean, he's really solid off the tee as well. But Henry Slade leading from the front, and he got 100% off the tee against Worcester. I don't think he was that far off against Wasps either. And again, got the win, and he scored a try as well. So happy days.
There you go. Kyle, I'll turn to you first on this one. Worcester are in deep trouble. Leicester Tigers with a 48-3 win over them at the weekend. What were your thoughts on that one?
Oof.
I think it's more Leicester dominance, to be honest, than Worcester being bad. I think they've gone 5 from 5 now. It was a real thrashing, and I think Leicester probably looking like title contenders. Harry Potter getting on the scoreboard again. He's playing really well. He's probably going to be putting his hand up for international selection at some stage in the future. They had so many try scores, I won't even go through them all. But it was a great game for them. And George Ford, good game again, pretty accurate. And I think Freddie Burns was pretty good as well when he came on. So it's good, looking good for Leicester so far. And I'm probably edging them to top the table at the moment.
I think on current form, I think after last week, they were top of the table. So obviously with this result, I think they will remain top of the table, looks like. I just, on a side note, every time I hear the name Harry Potter, it always gives me a bit of a smile. I know that on Instagram and TikTok, the Premiership Rugby social media managers and the Leicester Tigers social media manager get good use out of that with all the memes and stuff out of that. But anyway, Murray, what were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, so Leicester up front, it wasn't Worcester playing bad. I mean, like you said, Harry Potter scored. Julian Montoya's back from international duty. Nick Dolly, he's been on fire this season. He just seems to love scoring. Richard Wigglesworth got in the try, scored. The big man on the wing, the Manny Nandolo, got a little bit of action as well. And Freddie Burns scored as well. So, like, shame on Worcester Warriors for letting Freddie Burns score. But anyway, I feel sorry for Worcester because they were getting really close results and they got that big win in the first round. And then they got like Rory Sutherland and Duhan van der Merwe and all that back. And I mentioned it last week. I thought Rory played great against Exeter, considering the result. And I thought Duhan seemed to struggle. And because of the score, he obviously didn't get much like with the ball. So hopefully that gets sorted soon because I think Worcester have been like a nice little team to watch. But yeah, fair play of Leicester. Dominant, 5 from 5, just unreal.
Just on what Murray said as well, with Cowan Dickey looking like he could be injured, this could be a really good opportunity for Nick Dolly. He's been in great form, so could see him possibly getting into that England squad this autumn.
Yeah, all right, lots of jerseys up for grabs internationally anyway over the next couple of weeks, as you boys said. But when we were talking about Leicester there, Kyle, you mentioned the word thrashing. Saracens had a 71-17 thrashing over Bath today. What were your thoughts on that one, Kyle?
My biggest point is that Billy Vunipola 50-22. What are forwards doing this season? Like they've just turned into backs all of a sudden. Max Malin's man of the match, as I mentioned. Bristol are really missing him this season. Jamie George got 2 tries. What?
And Ben Earl scored as well, just to really rub the salt.
Yeah. Just to really rub the salt in the wound. Yeah, Maro Itoje got on the scoreboard. Not looking good for Eddie Jones' selection. Is it tomorrow? I think Itoje got injured. I'm not sure how bad it is yet, but hopefully for them it won't be too bad. But they had a few try scorers as well that I haven't heard of. I think they might be some new guys. And Dominic Morris coming off the bench, I thought he was really good as well. Farrell kicked well, but I thought Morris was probably better than Farrell, to be honest, in play.
All right, fair. Murray?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle kind of covered it there on Saracens then, but see for Bath, this is horrible to watch. I'm not a Bath fan, but like Bath have such a rich history. They are one of the biggest clubs in Europe, easily. They always get a sellout crowd at the Rec. It's not the players. We discussed it with Bristol. I think it's the opposite. I do think Stuart Hooper needs to leave. I get he played for Bath, so the club is very near and dear to his heart. But you've got some top talent there, and they're like, I can't even describe it. I was watching it earlier. Snapchat used a lot about it, and like we wouldn't even finish the game. It was 45-0 at half time. That's not great. And these Bath fans were so loyal. Like most of them stayed. I would have stayed. I would want my money back from that one, personally. Yeah. But yeah, I just think, and I don't like outing coaches, but you're 5 rounds in now. You've not won a game. Bristol beat you. Like, no offence, but like Bristol haven't been playing great all season. Bristol beat you. It's now getting worrying. I do think Stuart Hooper and his backroom staff need to go and maybe get like Stuart Lancaster or someone in.
Yeah, Bath got no excuses really, I'd say, because they've 4 from 4 losses now. They've got good facilities, they've got good players. So as Murray said, it's definitely a coaching thing. They're playing at the Stoop next weekend, so all I'm going to say is you really got to pray for them, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Stuart Hooper has been at the helm for a couple of years now, hasn't he? And have they even made the semi-finals since he's taken over, have they?
No. I think the best they got was 5th, and that was like a just as well. But they're not doing great in Europe. Like, growing up, it's a European night. Oh, who we played? Bath. Oh dear, that's going to be a tight game. Now, I'll take Bath. Yeah, go for it. Why not? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, currently they're going to have a tough time, seen on their form against Leinster in the Champions Cup. I mean, they're playing Leinster, obviously, in their makey-uppy group, the way the Champions Cup have done it. But anyway, that'll be tough enough for them. Murray, I'll start with you on this one. The last game of the round, London Irish against Gloucester. Tell us about that one.
Bloody good game. We've discussed this since season 2 started. London Irish are one of those teams that make the opposition almost bottle it in a way. Don't get over that finish line particularly, but put enough pressure on the opposition to make them not win. And again, it happened here. It was actually London Irish that slipped up and lost the lead today. It was 25-all at full time, and they've got a top scorer as well this season, but it's not who you would expect it. Augustine Karivi, his 4th try this season. He's loving scoring for London Irish now. Ben Morgan of Gloucester got 2 tries. Lewis Rees-Sammet, that's 3 tries in 2 games for him as well now since he's back from Lions duty. Adam Hastings at 10 for Gloucester. I said it last week. It's a perfect fit. It makes so much sense. And you'll be happy to hear this one, Sean. To get the score equal again, our good friend, London Irish captain, Matt Rogerson, gets the score. Love to see it. Well done, Matt.
Yeah, that's brilliant to hear. Just looking at some of London Irish results so far this season, in the first round they had a 12-point loss to Worcester, but every other game since, they've either been a narrow 2-point loss, and then with this game, that's their 2nd draw of the season. So London Irish, they've either been unlucky, probably the way you look at it. I mean, they're unlucky not to have a couple of wins under their belt, but with the form they're producing, obviously, You couldn't write it off them for them to shock some of the bigger teams. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I planned to watch a bit more of the London Irish and the Saracens games, but I fell asleep around 3 o'clock and I woke up at 5, so that was a bit unlucky. Probably stayed up a bit too late last night, but I think Murray pretty much covered it, to be honest. I love London Irish, so it's nice to see them playing some good rugby, but probably disappointed they didn't get the win, but great game from what I've seen from the two teams. And I probably expect the two of them to do worse this season than they are, and probably expected more errors from both teams as well, but pretty good game.
All right, good to hear. Lots of close games. Well, not lots actually. I'll take that back. Not lots of close games this round in the Premiership. But moving on to the URC, we're starting off with Friday night's fixture. Ulster remain unbeaten this season, 26-10 win over the Lions. I mean, Nathan Doakey's been pretty good for Ulster so far. Kyle, we'll start with you on this one. Did you get to see the game or thoughts on that one?
I got to see a bit of it, yeah. I got home a bit late, but as you said, Nathan Doak has been on fire, and it's probably, I don't like to say it, but Cooney is probably going to have a bit of competition when he gets back from injury, because Doak is on fire, and I think it benefits Ulster that he can goal kick, because Billy Byrne seems to play better when he doesn't have the pressure of a goal kicker. His kicks from hand at the weekend or Friday night were brilliant. He plays really good in open play, so I just think sometimes his goal kicking, when he's asked to do it, I think that probably takes maybe a bit too much out of him mentally. Nick Timoney as well played brilliant at 7. He was good for Ireland against the USA during the summer, so he could be looking at another selection again. But pretty good from Ulster. I probably expected a bigger win from them, but my biggest talking point was Nathan Doak. I think he's a class player.
Yeah, no, well said. Murray, the Lions really have been a bit poor so far in the URC, haven't they?
Yeah, they're not really holding their end of the bargain up for the South African sides, are they? It's just, well, they got off to a flyer, they beat Zebre, but we've discussed it, like, who hasn't beat Zebre? Their points tally this year is, it's really sad, but I'm not getting into that now. Yeah. It's tragic to read. You don't want it. I think they would be the team to change, but I just think the Lions, compared, like, because obviously a few South African players are coming back now, the Lions don't really have a lot of the Springboks players anyway, so this is pretty much like their full squad. Obviously, like, Ellen Yanchis will be back at 10 after November, but do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a particularly strong team. I can't really name any of the Lions players. Maybe Max Wani, that's about it. And I think they've not obviously not played Northern Hemisphere teams, and a lot of their players have always been in South Africa, so they've never even like had that European exposure, and it's starting to creep up on them.
Yeah. I mean, one South African side who's been doing a bit better than them is the Stormers. They got their first win of the season, 24-10 win over the Dragons. I mean, obviously the Stormers last week, Murray, you know this one, they drew at Edinburgh, and then the week before that they put up a pretty good first half performance anyway against Munster, but couldn't convert, and then lost to Benetton the week before that. But I mean, they finally got a win under their belt on a more progressing Dragons side. Murray, what were your thoughts on that one?
It was good, yeah. I actually was very surprised at this because I picked the Dragons to win it. It was back at Rugby Parade. They did that big win against Connacht last week. I thought, like, Simeon was banging on about it as well, that Dragons were on the up. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to back that claim. And as soon as I agree with it, they lose. So.
You're not trusting ever again. I think that's fair to say, is it?
Pretty much. Yeah, stick with my head, not anyone else's. I mean, Edwin van der Sar. Not Van der Sar, sorry. Edwin van der Merwe getting 2 tries for the Stormers. Yeah, great. Just solid effort by the Stormers, and it's nice to see them up and running, finally.
Yeah, Kyle, anything else to add there?
Not much. I didn't like the reminder about the game last weekend against Connacht, but I was expecting Dragons to win as well, to be honest with you. I think they've been doing well so far this season, and I like Sam Davies trying to play some nice rugby. He's a great kicker as well. Yeah. But Stormers just were too good for them.
Yes, very fair, yeah. Glasgow, well, Murray, you touched on it, on poor Zebre, unfortunately still winless. But Kyle, I'll go with you on this one. Obviously, not the best, but not the best from Glasgow either, I suppose, when you consider the scoreline.
No, definitely not. They only scored 2 tries, if I'm correct, and I'd have expected them to score maybe at least 6. To be honest, they won 17 points to 6, and you'd expect more against Deborah. No disrespect to them, but Glasgow are a lot stronger side really, and they've got a few internationals in that team as well at the weekend, I think. So I expected more from them. They haven't been playing good rugby, like Murray said before we started recording. They haven't been playing great, and they probably need to up their game a bit. I think they're in 4th place, but the way they're playing, it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, fair. Murray?
Yeah, basically Kyle just hit it right on the head there. I will give a little praise to Lewis Bean. He made his first start for Glasgow last week, continued it this week and gets himself a try, so he's definitely pushing for a more regular starting role. And Sione Tuipulotu, the big Samoan Scottish centre, has got on the scoreboard as well, so it's great to see. But yeah, Zebre, it's sad. We talked about it last week. Harvey mentioned it. 3 games in, 1 point, 36 scored, 117 conceded. So now you're at 42 scored and 134 conceded in 4 games.
Good quick maths, Murray. It's good quick maths.
Thank you.
The pressure was on and you delivered.
Didn't have to use the whiteboard behind Sean either.
If I just pan over there, I had the maths done. Or no. No, but yeah, no. As you said, you put it there. Feels sorry for Zebre. Then onto the next one. I mean, we mentioned it earlier. Benetton, they beat the Stormers at the start of the season. They've been pushing some teams close, and unfortunately, just a 3-point loss to the Ospreys. Murray, we'll go with you on this one.
I think the Ospreys choked on this one. They were riding comfortably 26-7, I think it was at one point. But you know what? They got down, they got the win. Stephen Myler with the late penalty, Reece Webb getting a double. Yeah, not much to complain about, but it's frightening because I feel like your Leinsters, your Munsters, your Ulsters, maybe even Glasgow, when they play their style of rugby, would hurt that Ospreys team. Like, Ospreys were so far ahead, but the Benetton of old would have probably put their heads down. But Benetton, Rainbow Cup champions for a reason, keep fighting, and it's a big man on the wing. I love him. Monty Ioane absolutely tore them apart for his try. It was fantastic. But yeah, Ospreys get the win. That's all that really matters. Benetton do get 2 losing bonus points. They got 4 tries themselves as well. So yeah, just lost to build on from. But I think Ospreys, you need to be a bit more, have better game management.
Yeah, Kyle.
I caught a good bit of this game actually, and I was disappointed really because Benetton were playing some nice rugby. As Murray said, Monty Ioane, what a guy! Some try that he scored. I noticed at the start of the game, Luke Morgan, I think it was, got a yellow card, and Benetton failed to make anything out of it. They didn't get any points, which probably isn't a good thing. Like, if they had, they would have won the game, and you need to take advantage of them yellow cards, really. Stephen Myler, I thought they bottled it really in the end when he took that penalty, and he missed it, but he got another one then at the end. But it was disappointing for Benetton, really, and I think they should have won that. But Ospreys, probably not as good as the scoreline suggests.
Yeah, no, you both said it there. Ospreys so far underperforming probably this season. Leinster had a big win, 50 points to 15. I mean, from what I've been hearing, Sexton had a pretty good game. The back row was good. Frawley, apparently, he kind of stepped up a bit, and so did James Lowe. A few shaky players, but Kyle, what were your thoughts on this one?
I'm going to go to Frawley first. He was playing 12 and man of the match. He's a brilliant player. I think I'd like to see him playing 10 a bit more because I think he could be an option for Ireland in the future if he gets more game time. Maybe ahead of Harry Byrne even, but I think Leinster are going to be playing him 12 while Henshaw is having his break anyways. James Lowe, I think he had a good game, but from what I saw, I only saw a bit of the game because Connacht game then. I was going to that, but I thought he was a bit shaky in defence again, kind of rushing out of the line. He got burnt a few times on the wing. So his defence still hasn't improved, which I'd hoped it would have. Dan Sheehan with 2 tries after he came on in a short space of time. And Cian Healy back on the loose edge when he came on off the bench, scored a try as well. But Porter at loosehead seems to be working well, and I'm excited to see that for Ireland, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, everyone knows it's no secret that James Lowe's defence is definitely not his best aspect of his play. But Murray, what were your thoughts on this game? Were Leinster just too good, or were the Scarlets a bit poor?
Both, genuinely both. It was a really weird mix of both. Like, I mean, everyone scored for Leinster. Ronan Keller was on the board. Cian Healy, Caelan Doris, and Sexton had a great game. You'd never hear me say that about Sexton. But yeah, he had a fantastic game. He rolled back the years with that one. For Scarlets, it's sad to see. We talked about it last week after that thrashing with Munster. Rob Evans, like almost in tears after that game last week, and I think I was about in tears watching this one just because it's sad. It's like Scarlets were like the last big team outside of Ireland, to win the league.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I think the only shining light right now is Johnny McNichol, and he's just going for fun. But there's only so much one man can do. But yeah, Sean, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, you said it there. Sexton obviously had a pretty good game, and he did last week as well. In fairness, he's stepping up even for his age, and a lot of doubt about whether he still should be in the Ireland team. He's still by far on his best 10. And I mean, from what I've been seeing is over the last 2 weeks as well with the Thrashing to Munster, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but at the weekend as well against Leinster, that they were a pretty strong Scarlets team. So I mean, that's, Scarlets, as you said, one of the teams that really should be in the top 4 at least. And obviously this season has been pretty disappointing for them. But yeah, no, that's really all I have to say. Johnny Sexton, unfortunately, is still, it probably is unfortunate that he's still the number 110 in Ireland. But
he got injured, didn't he?
Oh, he did, yeah. He actually hurt his hip.
He picked up a hip flexor injury, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's the form 10 in Ireland, so that's not good for us.
No.
Murray's definitely upset.
I'm absolutely stunned that Johnny Sexton on like his 3rd game in a row has done hurt. I'm stunned. Crippling news that. This is what we were on about like in season 1. Like, yes, Sexton's great on his day, but those days are like so far like in between now. And then he gets a nice little run of form, and he's hurt again. So just stop, please. Like,
you've got no time for him.
In the long run, just stop. I don't want him being like a shell of what he once was. Like, I don't want to see him 10 years on like BBC or TGR for years, and just like a shell of a man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough running. Liam Williams isn't playing yet, so I'll only convent about it.
Yeah. Sexton is your therapy for the minute.
Sexton's my therapy now until Williams gets back, and I can just start going for it again.
Well, I think it's fair to say after that Johnny Sexton, unfortunately, is no longer a friend of the podcast after that Murray rant. But
he listens though, because we slagged him off saying he wasn't playing great, and then he got good, so he obviously listens.
He listens to your advice, Murray. He takes it all from you.
Murray, if he texts you like, I want to come on the podcast, would you suddenly be like, he's the right man for Ireland?
I've genuinely got asked this, right? Because obviously, like, I don't like Liam Williams. I'm not scared to say it. They're like, but what if like you got Liam Williams on the show? Yeah, I'd still be professional. Like, I wouldn't be like, by the way, I think you're absolutely shit. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I do actually like Johnny. No.
You said a trigger there, Kyle.
Johnny May is a very one-dimensional player.
Too far.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, I bash Sexton now, but it's more just because of how he's been the last 3 years, we'll say. Maybe even 2 years. It's just the fact he hadn't played like so many games consistently for club since like 2017, and it's because he doesn't have the longevity or that anymore, because he constantly gets hurt. It's always like the head or the knee, and I'm like, please stop. And that's why, like, when people ask me, do I prefer Ronan O'Gara or Sexton, I say O'Gara because he retired at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But I think, in fairness to Sexton, for his age, he still is doing pretty all right, besides the fact that he only plays a handful of games a year. But, I mean, he has to be kind of wrapped up in cotton wool. At his age, and the fact that he is Ireland's number 110. What are your thoughts on that, Kyle?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I'd like to see Sexton kind of not hang up the boots, but maybe be pulled away from that Ireland squad in a way. Because I think it's time now for someone else to kind of step up, but not many other players have gotten a lot of game time, so I reckon he'll still start this November. But there's a few other 10s in Ireland. Obviously, Billy Byrne's been carrying a bit of an injury the last few weeks, I think, but he's been playing well. I still don't see him being the future for Ireland. So it's a bit of a rabbit hole to go down to, really, but I think for November, Jack Carty, maybe.
Yeah, I get behind that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're dead right. And I agree with you on the whole Sexton point of view. I mean, it'd be pretty disappointing to have Johnny Sexton starting at 38 years of age in the 2023 Rugby World Cup. I mean, come on, no matter how good anyone's playing the 38 years of age, unfortunately, this isn't American football. He's not Tom Brady. He doesn't have he doesn't have the cover that Tom Brady would have. But anyway, yeah, Jack Carty, I mean, obviously he had a pretty brilliant performance. We'll come on to that actually. But in the next game now, Edinburgh against the Bulls. Murray, you were at this one. Do you want to talk us through this one?
Well, yes. Considering the weather was so poor, it was a very fast-paced game. I loved it. Henry Immelman getting very early on in the scoreboard for Edinburgh. It was actually his first try for Edinburgh. Nice little grubber kick through from Damien Hoyland. Mark Bennett, he plays it out of his skin at the dam. I don't call it the dam health. I don't like it. If I call it the dam, it sounds a bit cooler. So I was sticking with that. But he plays out of his skin at the dam. You could tell he's got that Scotland recall. We'll go into that shortly. But yeah, Edinburgh. I thought Edinburgh did deserve the win. I'm not just saying that because I'm an Edinburgh fan. Bulls, you could argue it. They did play some nice rugby. But it was 14-3 at half-time to Edinburgh. Like, we were so comfortably ahead. And that wasn't even 2 tries. That was a try. And then it was just penalties from Jaco van der Walt. That was a weird situation. Jaco actually went off hurt with a shoulder injury. And James Johnson came on. So James Lang got moved to 10. He missed a kick. And then a few minutes later in the second half, James Lang came off, with Ben Vellicott coming on because Charlie Shield started at scrum half this week. So at the end of the game, it must have been Charlie Shield at 9, Ben Vellicott at 10, Mark Bennett moved into inside centre with James Johnson on the outside, and Mark Bennett slotted a cricket goal, which actually caught me off guard. I didn't know Mark Bennett could kick, but he's actually got quite a decent boot on him. I've got a little bit of childhood nostalgia. First time, and I can't believe I had to say this, for the first time in person, I got to see Marnie Stain in action. And
nice.
He makes things look effortless. He did 5 minutes left on the clock, crossfield kick to the winger. And the only reason it wasn't given, there was double movement in the build-up.
You've been on about this for months as well.
I know.
You were saying when this was announced, you're like, oh, Morningside, that's the only reason I wanted to go.
Yeah, that was the only reason I wanted to go to that Bills game, was Morningside.
Yeah.
And Bismarck Duplessis was actually on starting at hooker as well, so that was quite cool as well. I've seen Bismarck play for the last tour he did with South Africa in the internationals, but sadly I never actually seen Morningside play in person until now, so that's off my list. I got a thumbs up from him because you're not really meant to meet players now because of COVID. You can't get proper selfies or that, or fist bump them. You're not allowed to touch them. But because of the barriers, how Edinburgh Stadium set up to leave the stadium for the players, they can lean on the barrier and you could get photos. So I met Charlie Shield and Dave Cherry last night. So yeah, happy days.
It's a bit like the sports ground in that way, I'd say. So by the looks of it.
Yeah, kind of. But you know what? It was a great win. Edinburgh playing some really nice rugby under Mike Blair. Great to see. Again, South African teams not really holding their end of the bargain. But I'm kind of glad that we got a definitive winner compared to last week. I know the Stormers game with Edinburgh last week was fantastic, but you want a winner. Draws are boring.
Yeah.
Very anticlimactic, I think, a draw is. So, but yeah, great game. That's 2 weeks in a row I've been to the rugby, so happy days.
That's always happy. Kyle, did you have anything to add to that one?
No, I didn't get to see the game, unfortunately, so I'll take Murray's word for it on that.
Yeah, you'll be forced to. I think Murray will have to take your word for the next one. But Munster against Connacht, heartbreak in the end for Connacht. Kyle, do you want to take us through that one?
I haven't even written down notes for this because I just have everything in my head. Robbed. Jim Barrett with the try on the 78 minutes, obviously, to win it for Munster, and Connacht were defending on the line for about 6 minutes. And I was there talking to my dad, and he was saying, "Oh, they're going to get in." I said, "No, we'll keep them out. We've been doing it for ages." And he got in, and we put the kick off short. Then obviously Finney literally won that, and Munster kicked it out. Then a minute later, really heartbreaking. But what a performance from Connacht! I think Keane Prendergast got injured early on. You got a feel for him. He got stretchered off. It looks bad, to be honest, and he's been on fire. So I hope that's not too bad. Niall Murray had a brilliant performance again. He stole, I think, 3 lineouts in the first 15 minutes. I think he went on to steal about 5 lineouts in the whole game. He could have been man of the match if Carty wasn't so good. I think Carty really put his hand up for Irish selection on Wednesday. He had a cracking performance. Missed a conversion that he probably should have gotten, which would have been a draw, but he was brilliant all the same. And obviously got that charge down then. Carberry, I don't know what Carberry was doing, but Carty got in under the post anyways, and it reminded me of his try under the post a few years ago in the fourth round against Munster. Very similar. And I don't want to talk about that Clute try because obviously Tyg Byrne was a mile offside. Brilliant touch.
Yeah.
It was like he must have played soccer when he was younger, but I don't know how the TMO didn't pick that up or the referee, fair enough, he mightn't have been looking, but TMO or touched it, I don't know how it wasn't picked up. And I didn't notice it during the game, but afterwards, it's so obvious.
Yeah. I mean, apart from the fact that, the try was disallowed, and it should have been disallowed. Sorry. Let me clear that.
Yeah.
It should have been disallowed.
It should have been.
Yeah. And Clute got the score in the end. In fairness, I think Clute actually had a pretty good game on the ground, especially trying to get a couple of turnovers. Connacht's support was a bit slow at times, and he actually, out of all the Munster players, for me anyway, he seemed to be one of the better ones. Although we did give away a couple of penalties, but we generally don't speak too much about the referee, and we'll leave it this time. I'm sure we both have a go at that one, but you said it there, Jack Carthy, brilliant performance. His kicking out of hand for me was brilliant. Obviously, he got a couple of 50-22s. And there was one in the first 15 minutes, I think, when it was a brilliant kick from inside his own half, but Zebo did well to keep it in.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant by Zebo as well and by Carthy. It would have been a phenomenal kick if it went out. But, I mean, you pretty much said it all there. Connacht robbed. You just feel sorry for Connacht. I mean, it was a brilliant performance. Only coming away with 1 point there. I mean, easily could have been 4.
Did you see Shane Delahunt's 50-22?
Oh yeah, that was brilliant. But then
then he messed up the throw.
He just ruined it. It was a brilliant kick, probably the first hooker ever actually to kick a 50-22. So I mean, fair play to him. I mean, it was a brilliant kick off the line out. I mean, actually, while we're talking about the line out, Munster's line out, you said it as well, Kyle, that Munster's line out was poor. Their line out and their handling errors for me were just poor. Apart from the non-ingenuity in the back line and just the classic off nine, typical Munster South African kind of way. But anyway, Munster were poor. Murray, what are your thoughts on that game? Did you see any of it or hear anything, or what's your reaction to what Kyle said?
I did see it. Yeah, I did see it. You got robbed.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't have any affiliation to Connacht or Munster, so I call it. You put a video up, Sean, and I didn't actually see what the issue was. I watched it 5 or 6 times, proper, looking at my phone, what are we looking at here? I thought, I didn't think. My other half thought Jack Carty was punched because the way you freeze framed it looked like he's falling back and somebody's arms up. So I was like, was he hit? And was it a late hit and nobody seen it? And then I went in to watch the highlights. And as soon as I seen recognise that key frame that you put up, obviously in a wider view, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in the top left corner offside. I'm like, they're all offside. And then they run it in. Tyg Byrne, very lucky kick. The second kick he did.
Very fast, yeah.
But And then they brought it back for the TMO, and you could hear the TMO like, yeah, it's fine. On what planet is that fine?
Did they review it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I don't think
was
they actually.
wondering that
No, they
the
didn't have
same.
a proper review. I don't think. No.
Yeah,
Not a proper review, but like,
No.
if you watch the highlights, you could hear it. Like you could hear the ref and the TMO talk, and it shows you. Like, and again, I'm sitting there going 1, 2, 3. I can release 4 Munster players offside.
Yeah.
And like, bear in mind, for our predictions, I'm happy that Munster won because I picked Munster to win it. But win the bloody game fair. I'm not blaming the players. You play what's in front of you. You play it to the whistle.
Yeah, I mean it's not the players' fault really. It's
No.
more down to the TMO. I mean, come on,
Don't
TMO.
don't get me wrong. Like if you kicked it, if we were all somehow magically playing together, Sean, and you crossed field kicked it to me, and I was in front of you, and it wasn't pinged, you're damn right. I'm finishing that. Like,
Yeah.
but the fact that like if you go back and watch the highlights, you could hear the TMO say, "Yeah, it's fine." And I'm like, "Oh, it's quite clearly not." And yeah, it was, the try 7. Munster march on undefeated.
The fact that the TMO has access to all the angles and he can watch every single play multiple times.
You only need one angle.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even need. You're right.
You only need one angle because obviously it's different when you're there because depending on where you sit or where you stand, you'll see it differently. But the way it was filmed on television before, like I knew it was that play because if your video shot. And as soon as I seen it, I paused it and went like 1, 2, like 4 or 5 Munster players in the top left corner of the screen offside, and I'm like, how is like maybe one being offside and not noticing that? That's hard to keep a track of, but 5 of them, come on.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle, you could back me up on this one. Connacht were never going to get any help from Frank Murphy on the touchline anyway.
we saw him warming up, and Dad said, "Oh, look who's the referee," because we didn't realize it was actually Chris Busby.
Yeah,
and I was fuming already. But Frank Murphy was harsh. I did notice he's really harsh for both teams on the touch. He probably killed 5 meters. Like there was times Joey Carberry probably hit the 22, and he was back near the 10-meter line probably. But Chris Busby isn't much. No, we won't go down there. I was going to say earlier that I thought Sammy Arnold's yellow card was harsh, but looking back on it, you can probably see why. It was stupid for him and Conor Oliver kind of starting fights with Chris Cluday especially. I think there could be a bit of bad blood there maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if either of you seen this, but just while you mentioned the yellow card there, in the first half, Munster, I think, were attacking on the Connacht line, and there was a bit of a cheap shot by Simon Zebo on Canan Blade. I don't know if either of you saw that. He was in a kind of attack, holding him up. Yeah, it's kind of like his back was turned, and it was like, I don't know, when Jamie Heaslip got kneed in the back by Pascal Pape, you know that one?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. Zebo came in, but I don't think it was with his knee. It was with his like just shoulder full force in the back. Canan Blade. It looked like it was just reckless. The ball was gone as well. The ball was just was gone like a full 3-4 seconds. Like, and Zebo just comes in, and anyway, yeah, that was a bit poor. Anything else to add there, Murray, before we move on?
I was just going to say, for our viewers, can you tell that 2/3 of the hosts tonight are Connacht fans? Because the in-depth of this game's been unreal.
I mean, justice for Connacht. Come on. Connacht needs some justice. Actually, one thing I'll add, actually, although obviously Connacht fans are giving the officiating team a lot of slack, I actually didn't think that Chris Busby had that bad of a performance. He was getting a lot of hate at the end at full time, like by neutral fans even. But I didn't think he was too bad. There was a couple of times at the breakdown where people thought, or it might have been like a kind of 50-50 decision. But overall, I didn't think he was too bad. I thought he had a good game. What did you think, Colin?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. I think he was consistent on his calls for both teams. No, he was pinging teams for the same thing, and I think he probably let the game flow a bit as well. He wasn't stop-starting like probably some referees would.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Anyway, Murray, you said it yourself. We've probably done on this game for a while, too long. But
you missed a game.
Oh, did we? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
You missed the Cardiff Sharks game.
Cardiff Sharks. Yeah, Murray, you take us away with that one then.
Well, deep breaths now. Cardiff bouncing back after last week. They got a big win against the Sharks this week. 23-17. Nice, tight game. Matt Morgan and Hal Ho on the scoreboard for Cardiff. Thomas Dutoit and Marnus Potgieter scored tries for the Sharks. But at the end of the day, it came down to the boot and Reece Priestland, Mr. Reliable, as I called him, because when he played for Bath, I think it was like 38 games consecutive conversions, or 38 consecutive conversions without missing one or something like that. Like he set the league record, and so if you've got someone to kick a goal, Reece Priestland's your man. And yeah, nice win for Cardiff. Bounced back after last week's defeat. It's still weird for South African teams. I think they're still trying to find their feet playing against the Northern Hemisphere teams, because obviously it's well documented. Southern Hemisphere teams play fast-paced rugby. Northern Hemisphere will slow it down, kick for the sticks. Yeah, so I think it's still a bit of a culture shock. I think Stormers, Bulls play some nice rugby and then slacking off. Sharks got a big win, and then there's the Lions that are just shit. But yeah, it's a strange one. I think that's the best way I could describe it. Is it's very still trying to find their feet, basically, in this new setup. And I am starting to agree with Simeon that he said last week he thinks the time the South African internationals come back, it's going to be too late for the South African teams to push for the title. And I'm starting to think that now, because Mornay Stain and Bismarck Du Plessis and Cornell Hendricks were playing for Bulls. They still got beat. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's a very open tournament for the most part. But, I mean, you still got your front runners like Leinster, Munster, Ulster. All three teams still undefeated, so it's interesting. It's definitely one to look out for. Definitely more enjoyable than the Pro 14. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's been better. Bit of exclusionist there. You named the three Irish provinces, but not Connacht there. That's poor form, Murray.
You don't win. Sorry, I want to see you win. I've got a soft spot for Connacht, but got beat by Dragons at the sports ground. You got robbed. We've admitted you got robbed at Thomson Park. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see Connacht push for it.
I think
even just a nice change as well. Like we joke about it. It does get boring when Leinster win it. That's why I picked Munster.
Yeah,
because Munster realistically have a shot of winning it. And yeah, obviously, if I really want to dream big, Edinburgh to win the URC, I'm happy with how Edinburgh's performing, but I take it week by week. So
let's be realistic, though, Murray. At the end of the day, though, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I know. Sorry.
I will give a little special shout out. I'm getting used to this now, from just because of who we've been looking at to interview. Matt Hanson of Connacht didn't score against Munster, but from what I've seen, he played an all right game.
Yeah, he was pretty good,
and he's just genuinely quite a sound bloke. We've spoke a few times since the episode, since the recording. Sorry, that episode's not available yet, but yeah, just Max, just genuinely a nice guy, and yeah. Any top 14 news, Mr. Scott?
Yeah, not so much news, but it's more the kind of same old in the top 14 this week. Obviously, the first three rounds were littered with shocks. This week, not so much, unfortunately. It's the classic. Well, one game that was very low scoring. La Rochelle had a 2-point win, 8-point to 6 win over Brive. Very low scoring. I'd imagine you probably would have want your money back if you paid to go to that one. Well, I don't know how the quality of rugby was, but I'd imagine it was fairly poor. And then the usual Cast 38-20 win over Biarritz. Bordeaux 4-point win over Pau. Stade Francais finally getting their act together. 1-point win over Perpignan. Montpellier lost to Clermont by 2 points, 20 points to 22, and then Racing 7-point win over Toulon in Toulon. And one game left to be played, Lyon against Toulouse. That's on now currently, actually. So no shocks this week. But one thing actually we haven't talked about this league in a long time But Major League Rugby, there was a bit of piece of news that came out on Saturday that Carlos Spencer has joined NOLA Gold, New Orleans Gold, as an assistant coach for the coming season. So that's a big coup for New Orleans. So any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Right. Just about coaching roles. This was a big steal from Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah.
Olympic gold medalist, Sevens coach, left Fiji 2 weeks ago and they put a big thank you up. I never thought anything of it. I was like, oh well, he's obviously he was going on to like other ventures, but I was like, okay, he'll probably join like the All Black setup or something like that. And past Wednesday, I think it was, Edinburgh announced he's our new attack coach. So I was like, yes. So expect champagne rugby from Edinburgh coming forward. And we've got Fijians. Big Bill on the offloads. Why not?
Yeah, Gareth Baber will know how to get through to them. Any reaction to any of that news there, Kyle? Any front?
No, not really on the top 14 front. There's no surprises anymore, even with the table. La Rochelle probably a bit underwhelming this season, and Perpignan and Biarritz, I don't know if you heard my predictions, but I expect them to do a lot better, especially after the first few rounds. They were playing well, and I'm really disappointed with Biarritz, to be honest, because they were pretty good last season in Pro G2, but I don't think there's much surprises now in the top 14. It's all kind of gone back to normal.
Yeah, it has dined out a bit. I mean, Barrett, you said it there, it had 2 shock wins at the start of the season, and Perpignan beat Toulon. I think it was in Toulon as well, in the 3rd or 4th round, I think it was. But yeah, it's a pity that this week there's been no shocks, because I think, well, the Premiership is definitely better in terms of competition now this season, but the top 14 on its day is one of the best leagues in the world, but Premiership is probably just ahead of it now currently in terms of parity. But yeah, anyway, we're on to our last segment for the show, lads. Fan question. Kyla, you put out a post and got a couple of questions back. Do you want to start there?
Yeah, so the first one was Jack Maher asked, what position do you think is the most underrated out of the forwards? So I'm guessing we're going to come to Murray first because he's a forward.
I mean, I wish I was still back. Most underrated position, and well, I have to say second row. It sounds strange because I'm trying to think, because like I'm a second row, but I'm not. I'm 6'1". I'm not freakishly tall, but second rows do a lot of like the nitty gritty work that like nobody wants to do. I think that's the best way I could put it. Like props and your front row, they're constantly driving, they're constantly trying to make like that little extra meters in the phases so the backs can then do something. Back rowers kind of are like extra backs in a way, and they make stupid amount of meters. So yeah, I think I'd say second row, just because like the nitty gritty stuff they don't want to do. Like I've lost count the amount of charge downs I do now, or now that I'm a second row. Like I've always thought I was like anyone could do it. Like realistically, anyone can charge down, but it just feels like where you're positioned. Like, if you're not in the ruck, you're pretty much next, because there's obviously going to be a pod coming in. So you need like your forwards trying to hit up with that. But sometimes it goes out the back. So you've got like a 9 or a 10 or a fullback, trying to clear it. So I've lost count already, and we're only in October this season. That's how many charge downs I've won. How many I've won is 0, but that's not the point. But yeah, no, I'll go for second row. I think even at like professional level, they do a lot like unsung hero sort of thing. I think that's the best way I could say it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Speaking to
For
the
me,
backs,
for me, I wouldn't go second row. Just it depends. In some professional teams, you can see kind of how some second rows are really underrated. Like Adam Beard is a really good example. Yeah. But I think if you're really tall, sometimes you get picked, and this is more kind of going down to amateur. If you're really tall, you're able to get onto, say, a provincial team or into an academy setup a bit easier. But I think in general, I'd go with props, because I think there's so many world-class props that aren't probably compared to other world-class players because they don't score the same amount of tries or they don't do the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't win a game or play a game without a prop, really.
Yeah.
I think they're a really key part to a team. I think they're probably the most important position apart from a 10.
Yeah, no, so I do agree with that. I mean, the props do put in a shift that, for the most part, does go unnoticed. Like, if it's a high-scoring game, nobody cares what the props have done. Which sucks because, again, if the props are playing poor and your scrum's then poor, your everything goes to shit. But that's fair. Yeah, I agree with that one, Kyle.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, my answer is actually a mix of both your answers. So if I was to specify one position, it would be tight head prop, just because of how technical it is. And obviously, I don't know how technical it is. Obviously, I've never played tight head prop in my life, but from what I hear, it's very technical. It's very specific, and it's pretty hard to get used to, especially if you're playing up, if you've never played there before, especially when it gets to senior and professional level. And then I said second row as a whole because basically exactly what Murray said, just because they don't usually get the recognition, that other positions, especially as you said, Murray, back row with turnover and tries and stuff like that. So yeah, no, that's my thoughts on that. Murray, do you want to go on to the next question?
Just to let you all know, Ulster's going to win the league.
Oh, Simeon.
Yeah, just so you all know, Ulster, great game, lads. They're going to win the league. Absolutely demolished the Lions. Absolutely fast game. I'm speaking to you from above.
You're not dead.
I am dead now. I'm speaking to you from the heavens in the name of Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
I'll go away.
Amen.
Do you not love Kyle now?
Oh yeah, Kyle's there. Just to remind you, Ulster's the best team in the Irish Shield.
There you go.
The fourth best.
Even though I've got complications as well.
I need a breather now. I jumped in my stem.
I thought it was a speaker coming out, or like your AirPods.
No. For reasons we're not getting into, Simmons staying at mine tonight, and I actually forgot he was here.
That was funny. I'm gonna have to keep that recording safe.
That's fine.
You can't edit that out. That's gold.
No, that's staying in. I think.
I mean, if that's the clip we want for the TikTok page, then there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Murray, do you need to take a time out? Do you need a water break?
No, I'm all good. No, I'm all good. Just my heart's racing now. That's all. Yes, questions. Yeah.
Yes.
What's my trail of thought? Oh, wait a minute. He's coming back. Just give me a minute.
Next we get
Go away. Yeah.
Thank you, Simeon.
Bye.
I think a pantomime. Oh, yeah. Anyway, fun question. There we go. So they were all asked on Kyle's page. So thank you to everyone that got involved. Kenny Rugby. What team or teams do you think are being overlooked in maybe the title run of the URC? Sean, we'll start with you.
In terms of title run, it's hard to say. I mean, honestly, it's hard to really say anyone really for the title run. I mean, I don't like saying it that way, but like, when I think about every other team's chances of actually winning the title, I mean, let alone who's going to be playing. I don't want to say this, but who's going to be playing Leinster in the final is really the way we're kind of conditioned to think.
Maybe we'll change it to like playoffs, to like the actual.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
I think based on, well, not really results, but just on performance so far, wouldn't rule out the Stormers making the playoffs. I like the brand of rugby they played against Munster. They really impressed me, especially that first 15 minutes. They have quality players. I mean, even Gallant at fullback he's just brilliant, joy to watch. So yeah, I'm going to stay the Stormers.
Yeah, that's fair. Kyle.
Well, I'll just say we're saying about like it's about who plays Leinster in the final, and everyone's expecting Munster, but I think Ulster could be possibly title contenders if someone's to take it off Leinster. But a dark horse maybe to make the playoffs, I'm going to go with Dragons. And
Boo.
It's a big shout. It's a big shout. But obviously they've had a better start to the season than usual. They bet us, obviously. I don't want to talk about that. And they nearly bet Leinster as well. So I think they could have a pretty good season.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to back my team. I think everyone, including myself, even in a prediction of the league, had Edinburgh fairly low down, and they're proving me wrong. And that's what I want from. You would want it from Connacht as well. You want your team to do well and almost prove you wrong. And yeah, I think the way, obviously, like I said during the episode, that take it game by game. But right now, I can't see why Edinburgh shouldn't be in that mix. I'm not saying to the final. Obviously, I'd love it, but there's no reason why we can't get to the. Do we get quarterfinals this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Kyle, when we had you on the Interview Thursday segment a few months back, I remember you said that you thought Edinburgh were going to play horribly, so Murray's out to prove you wrong.
I'm out to prove everyone wrong on that one.
We'll still have to come back to it later in the season, but I think I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, all to play for yet anyway. All to play for. Last question then. Yeah, last fan question from this week was from Rory.Doherty. Obviously, Rory's a big fan of the podcast. Rory asks, which country could step up right now and get on the same level as other Tier 1 countries? Kyle, we'll go with you on that one.
Are we going Tier 2 countries?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Japan are Tier 2, aren't they?
No,
they're Tier 1.
They're Tier 1 now, okay.
Yeah.
I think kind of the typical answer is Fiji, really, and I'm trying to be different, but I think you kind of got to go with them. I think they have the potential to be so much better than they are, and hopefully, probably with Super Rugby, probably expanding a bit more, that can benefit Fiji a bit. But they have some brilliant players, so there's no reason that they probably can't do better than they are doing at the moment. But even in sevens, they're amazing. So hopefully in 15s they can step up, I think.
Yeah, very fair. Murray?
Yeah, I mean, Fiji is like the safe and probably the best answer, but I don't know, I'll probably go, I think Georgia. I think they're always pushing. They want to play with the big boys, but I don't know, it's just going to be this age-old debate. Georgia should be in the Six Nations, Italy should be taken out, and then it's Italy, Georgia, Italy win, and you're back to square one. I think maybe not Tier 1, but definitely push up the ranks a little bit more. Maybe Uruguay. I mean, they just qualified for the World Cup again. They did some big shocks in the last World Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Italy in 2023.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe even Brazil. I know it was a while ago, but Brazil played like the Maori All Blacks and dominated in the scrum. It's unreal. Granted, they still got absolutely thrashed in the game, but like there's clips of it on like YouTube or anywhere really on social media, and they just drive and it's clean, and yeah, I don't see why not. It's maybe go Germany just because of some of my roots that me and Sean joked about, that I could play for Germany right now if I wanted, because I'm eligible. I've got
the granny rule.
Yeah, the granny rule. Yeah.
Chile, I think, is a team that we could see kind of pushing through the years a bit as well. Obviously, they bet Canada.
Yeah.
Was last weekend, wasn't it? But and there was that eye gouge incident, which probably didn't help them, but that was an amazing result for them.
Yeah, I mean, I was literally just going to say what you both said there, Uruguay and Chile. I mean, Uruguay, obviously, they're not there yet, but I think they have the serious potential to really, kick on and, potentially, well, no, obviously this is early days yet, but become Tier 1 down the line if they follow like in the footsteps of someone like Japan. But obviously they don't have their own league like Japan has to develop talent. But, since the launch of SLA, or the South American Professional League, it launched coincide the same year as Major League Rugby. South American Rugby has kicked on, and, the results by Uruguay and Chile 2 weeks ago is a testament to that. So I'd like to see both those nations, and obviously Brazil and the like. And, I think a nation like Portugal as well could kick on, but I mean, really need to get some good wins under their belt first. Obviously Uruguay have done that, the rest not so much. But I suppose that's really it. Murray, do you want to talk about next week or anything at all?
Next next week we return to our regular scheduled programming. The three OGs are back next week. Me, Sean, and Simeon are back next week.
Ooh.
No, it's going to be a rebellion. Kyle and Harvey are going to try and kick us out.
Yeah. Well, now that we've had them both on, we'll give people the insight. So if, for whatever reason, if I'm not on the show, or Sean, or Simeon, you will get Kyle or Harvey, or both if two can't make it. But yeah, we've said it like since the word go. They're kind of like the unofficial members of the Rugby Pod. Rugby Connection Pod. The Rugby Pod's different. Sorry, that's Jim Hamilton and Andy Good.
Copyright strike incoming.
Copyright. But yeah, like we've said it from day one. They're great lads. We talk to them away from the show as well. They're not just asking questions. Kyle does though. I know Kyle has to get his say in every week with a question.
Yeah, always do.
Yeah, no, like I don't just say it because he's on the call. I've told them, I've messaged him at umpteen times. Yous are like the broader members of Rugby Connection. Like we talk to you, like I class you as mates as well. Like we talk to you off the show. We don't just talk about rugby. But yeah, like that. Yeah. So now everyone is in the picture. There's technically 5 of us, not just 3.
Yeah. Kyle, any final words? First of all, thanks a million for coming on. Any final words?
No, I had one word to say, but you could all guess it already. But no, thanks a million for having me on, lads. Pleasure.
Was a word dropped?
Maybe.
Oh, that is brilliant. I think we'll leave it at that. But yeah, really, Kyle, thanks a million for coming on. This has been episode 5, season 2 of the Rugby Connection podcast, and we will see you all next week.
See you later.